Hey brothers and sisters, Tony here. This edition of NALC Region 3 News You Can Use is about money. Who doesn't like money? Lately we've been seeing a ton of issues of management improperly editing clock rings of letter carriers. Although correcting clock ring errors is often necessary to ensure the proper recording of work hours, unfortunately we're seeing instances of intentional false clock ring changes by managers and tax. And as a result, carriers are negatively affected. The most egregious inaccurate editing of clock rings are those edits that affect carriers' pay. Once again, we're talking money. Unfortunately, some recent examples include managers clocking out letter carriers while they're still working, resulting in some letter carriers not being paid for the time that they work. NALC will not tolerate this under any circumstances, and neither should you. Our members work hard and must be paid for every minute that they work. The way management does this usually is by altering a begin or end tour time or extending the lunch period. In one office that we recently looked at, we looked at 4 pay periods of clock rings for just the 10 CCAs in this office. And it turned out that management had shaved a considerable amount of time during that period. A total of just over 8 hours of overtime and a whopping 26 hours of penalty overtime. That's just over $1,000 between the 10 of them in just 4 pay periods. And not a single carrier in that office ever noticed they were getting ripped off. That's scary. Clock rings, it's right here. This carrier right here, this first one, clocked out on this day at 19:04 hours. It was a long day. But management went in and later and changed that they clocked out at 17.95. This carrier lost 1.09 hours of penalty overtime. Roughly $38. Never heard from that carrier. This carrier right here clocked out on this day at 19:50 hours. Management went in and changed it to 17.96. That's a 1.54 hours of penalty overtime. Roughly $55 for this carrier. In addition, surprise, surprise, by management reducing this hours, this carrier came in right at 10 hours. No penalty overtime for this carrier. I wonder why they changed it. Once again, 10 hours for this carrier, even though they actually worked 11 and a half hours. 1.5 hours of penalty overtime by changing it in tour time. Another one, 1 hour by changing the in tour time. This one here is a little more, it's one of the other things we're finding is the changing of the lunch time. This carrier was put in for a 0.64 hours lunch, and I assume this carrier probably went no lunch, meaning this carrier lost $17 just with a few strokes of the keyboard. The sad thing is, if we hadn't found these while looking into an overtime related grievance, management would have got away with this. This is significant money. The sad part is that a majority of times that we uncover fraud, it's some union officer that finds it while they're looking into another timekeeping related issue, like an overtime grievance. It rarely is it that a carrier brings it to our attention. This means that management is stealing from our carriers and the carriers are completely oblivious to it, which is one of the reasons why the problem persists. They know they can get away with it. If you knew that your supervisor could go onto their computer and access your bank account, would you know if they took money from your account? Of course you would. Would you care? Absolutely. Well, that is basically what is happening when they can go into their computer and take time away from you with just a few keystrokes in a few seconds. Why would you trust that they're paying us for every minute that you're working without verifying? Everyone needs to pay attention to their work hours and their pay. If you see a possible discrepancy, notify your steward or a branch officer or call our office. Make your own swipes on the time clock. If your supervisor tells you to use a 1260 or that they will take care of clocking you in or out, that should be a huge red flag. talk to your steward or call our office ASAP. The NALC has produced recently some handbooks for stewards on how to identify clock ring error. In addition, a pocket-sized work hour trackers are available to keep track of your own hours. We've begun sending these out to the branches, so see your steward or branch officers about receiving one of these. In addition, they're working on an app for tracking your hours, but it really doesn't matter how you track. The key is that you must keep track of your hours every single day. Then take a close look at your pay stub to make sure you got paid for every minute that you worked. You work hard and you deserve to be paid. To stewards, please file the appropriate grievances and notify the NBA office that this is taking place if you uncover it. We'll be happy to provide guidance on grievances, but we also want to be able to monitor the locations where the fraud is taking place. Thank you for taking the time to view this, and please stay tuned for more NALC Region 3 videos.